Hello, everybody. This is Ricky. Okay, so I was driving to Tallahassee yesterday, and it just clicked to me why we should pray. Because before I used to think about it, I was like, well, God already knows everything that we're thinking and what's in our hearts and what we even say, and He already has His plan. He orchestrates everything. Like, why does He need us to pray? Like, why should we pray? And so I have a list of things that occurred to me about why we should pray. So first of all, it acknowledges our relationship with God. Because this whole thing, like this whole Christian thing, it's about having a relationship with God, with Jesus, through Jesus, having a relationship with God. So when you pray, because God already knows everything we're going to say, think, or do, and everything like that, He's already aware of that. He already knows what we're going to say before we say, and what we're going to pray before we pray. But we pray because it acknowledges our relationship with Him. It's our part of communicating with Him and to Him. And I think for us, it just makes Him more real because we're talking to Him as if we're talking to a person. And two, it humbles us because it shows that when we're praying to God, we're depending on Him and we need Him. And as much as some of us may think that we can go on this life without Him, truth is we need Him. We need His joy. We need His love. We need His peace. We need His presence. We need His forgiveness. We need His provision. We need all these things from God, and He loves that we depend on Him because He wants to be our Father. Third, when we pray, not just for ourselves but for others, it helps us to practice being more selfless, not selfish. And it takes the attention off of you, and you become more content with where you're at because you see that others are struggling with things far more worse than things that you're struggling with, or they're just not doing well and they just really need God. I mean, we all need God, but they just really need more of God's provision than you may need His provision. And I think when you pray for other people, it really just takes the focus off of you, off of us, because we like to make it all about us sometimes. And when we pray, and we're praying for others, it helps us to be more selfless and to be more humble and to really just see God working in other people's lives. Also, again, it helps us to be more content with where we're at. And prayer alleviates stress. It's the best way to alleviate your stress. It's the biggest stress reliever. And it takes away the doubt and the worry, because when we're praying, we're choosing to trust in God. We're choosing to have faith in what God can do in our lives and what He can do in our hearts. And prayer just shows that we are having faith and we are trusting in God and His power to move and to change hearts and to provide and to forgive and to bring salvation, all these things. Prayer is showing that we're choosing to believe that. So when we're praying, we're not worrying because we're praying to God, and we're not having doubt because we're praying to God, and we're not as stressed because we're praying because we know that the Lord hears our answers, or He gives us answers, but He hears our prayers. And so I think it's not the least you can do, it's the best thing you can do. Like, I have this issue where I start to get worried and my mind gets all worked up. And I'm like, why am I doing that? Being worried and being stressed out doesn't do you any good. So I make a bigger effort to just pray. And have faith and get those negative thoughts out of my mind, get those depressed thoughts out of my mind, and just pray. And it does so much. I feel just better physically because I know that God is hearing me, that He loves me, and especially, praying out loud, side note, is awesome. Like, praying in your mind is okay too. It's however you prefer it. But for me, I know, I fall asleep or my mind travels if I'm not praying out loud. But when I pray out loud, I feel like there's so much power to that because you're declaring God's promises. You are declaring that you're talking to God, and I feel like it just does so much. It pumps you up, and it's just amazing. Also, just through prayer, you grow. You grow through prayer, and you grow in your relationship with God, and it builds it up more and more because you're communicating with Him more. And you see God's faithfulness and His mercy and grace when He answers your prayers. And keep a note, have a prayer journal or something where you can take note of things that you've prayed for, and just writing down how God answers them, so that when you're going through the times, you can just go back and look, God has been faithful. His love has been there. His provision has been there. So if you guys are only praying when things are really bad, that needs to change. That used to be me. It was horrible. Whenever I would screw up in my high school years, I'd be like, God, I promise that if you help me not to get through this, or help me to not face this consequence, that I will love you and I'll go to church. And you know those kind of prayers. But our prayers should just really be to have communication with God. And it doesn't have to be this beautiful, eloquent, well-versed, well-composed prayer. I mean, yeah, there are times for that, and the more that you grow in your relationship, you will have some prayers like that. But the most important thing is that you're keeping an honest conversation with God. Like, put all your walls down. Like, don't front. God already knows what you're doing, even if it's wrong. And just pray in all areas and all seasons of your life. My prayers aren't always beautiful. Sometimes I'm really upset when I'm praying to God, but He appreciates and honors my honesty. And it really just pray. You can pray throughout the entire day. You can pray while you're walking to class. Like, it doesn't have to just be like in a corner somewhere with like a towel over your head. Like, you can pray throughout the whole day. It's not, I mean, there are prayers for like praying for a request and praising, and they're just conversation prayers as if God was here because He desires that intimate relationship with us. So you should pray because praying is awesome, and really that is how we communicate with Him because He's already communicating to us through all these other things. So pray it up, people. Pray it up. Bye.